Acknowledge that we are on unceded, forcibly taken traditional land of various tribal groups. The Miwok, the Nisenan, and the Maidu peoples have all stewarded this land for generations. We honor with gratitude the land itself and the native peoples past and present. This acknowledgement only becomes meaningful when combined with accountable relationships and informed actions. This is only the first step in honoring the land we are on and the original people who stewarded it. The land acknowledgement was never meant to end there. It is an introduction. Anyone can acknowledge whose land you are on and weave in what that means to a specific event or programming you are conducting. This acknowledgement calls on all of us to end Indigenous erasure and engage with Native people in meaningful ways. Please let me know if you are interested in resources to continue the journey of learning and decolonizing. Thank you.
The idea is that we're going to increase awareness for water, energy, climate disaster, public awareness related to water and energy conservation, climate mitigation and emergency preparedness, relief and recovery, including fire, civic engagement, including election participation. And you might well be thinking, what's all this got to do with health? Social justice and community engagement and public health awareness. And as my friend Stephen Dambeck, who's here in the audience today, would say, it's almost unfair to assume that artists have to tackle issues that are critical to society following a global pandemic, when art should exist for art's sake. And we have argued this over the course of the last month, so I challenge you to debate this as we go through. You're listening to lots of data tonight and it's going to be mind-boggling, but let's keep getting real about it as well. What are some projects that feel meaningful to you through lived experience locally?
So I know that not everyone has been up there, but I'm from Oregon House, California. I lead a K-8 school there, and we're trying to advance a high school there as well. And when I saw the state of education in Yuba County, it's so disheartening. But what I experienced growing up in Oregon House was that people dropped out of school because the bus ride was just too long. And that happened to my friends. I happened to move away, so it didn't happen to me. But I'm currently fighting to expand my K-8 school to serve high school students. And I have my animation and design visual and media arts instructor right here beside me. What we're trying to do is open up forestry and natural resources as a career pathway, because that's what's happening in the North Yuba watershed. And then design visual and media arts, because that translates into almost any job. Also, we are an environmental science school, and we do produce one environmental film per year, at least one, and we submit them to various art festivals, but specifically the Wild and Scenic Film Festival in Nevada County. And then our last track in career technical education is entrepreneurship, because we do want to bring prosperity to the foothills. All this money is being spent to rehabilitate the forests that have been poorly treated all these years, but we want to bring prosperity to this region.
Louise, you're just so ahead of the game, it's just great. It's so ahead of the game that I completely failed to pass you the mic, but we'll come back to that. So how about we just click on this track here, which I think is that region. Am I right in thinking that?
Yeah.
Is this brilliant? So notice that when I click on the track, there's community conditions immediately pop up on the left. And you can see the overall Healthy Places Index score for this part of Yuba County is in the lowest quartile of the Healthy Places Index. But why? What are the markers? What are the indicators? So these indicators are called policy action areas. And what you're looking for is those little black vertical lines that show you what's dragging this particular tract down. And sure enough, education features. So then what you're going to want to do is, you know, if you're putting together a case for support for funding for an arts project, and you want to build a gold standard project that's going to, you know, be sustainable into the future, that might even be able to be borrowed by other communities across the nation, you're going to want to know why that is and build a case for support around it.
Where does mental health, and what policy area where do you all, from your knowledge of this, see mental health? And not necessarily through a healthcare program, because that's only one portion of it, but where do you hear that mental health is showing up in which policy area?
One of the real limitations for this, I believe, is if you opened up healthcare access, there's only one thing there, insured adults.
Yeah, I saw that.
So we're definitely finding the aspect of health and mental health is a huge concern, you know, across this whole upstate region. And it's been shared quite a bit, the relationship with ability to be able to pursue education for even a bachelor's degree. For instance, up in Modoc County, there are no colleges. And so people were describing the kids that stay behind to live on the ranches and not go off to school, and some of the dynamics in with some of the things going on up there. So definitely great flag and a part of our feedback.
So what are the factors that might determine how much a county or region will be apportioned? We talked about that. Do we just do it across county lines, give everyone the same amount? Do we think about county population? Do we take into account county tribal and ethnic considerations and composition? Obviously, we're going to look at the overall proposal strength. There are bunches of networks in this room. How can you work together on a project that goes beyond where you are and your bubble? Should we have a little easier to get, perhaps, and easier to evaluate? Do we give discretionary or high impact grants? Those are the ones that have more partners involved, supporting more artists, and perhaps are a little bit more complex in terms of the way they're administered. So this is where I would love to turn it over to you.
The one thing that we share in the North State is we have water. Everybody else in California knows that and wants the water, but we don't really understand our own water. And we do have the Yuba Water Agency with a lot of interest in doing this. So maybe another way, I don't want to propose what we do, I just want to propose would be strategic, consolidate, and magnify. What if we did a whole North State project with lots of input and probably lots of money, working with the Native Americans, and then what happens is that artists don't come to David and say, I want to do this. They say, this is a beautiful project, how can I participate and stretch myself and share my inspiration?
I think there is something to be said in these smaller northern communities where the arts is never going to sustain anyone's practical livelihood. We simply cannot be artists and function without a day job. And it is grants like this that have the potential to let an organization get off the ground. I mean, Convergence Theater Company, which Lydia, Crystal, myself started under Yuba Sutter Arts and Culture just a few months ago, simply wouldn't have been able to operate without a, in perspective, very small grant from Yuba Sutter Arts, but it gave us the opportunity to create theater. And I have been involved in enough administrative projects, school district or business or whatnot, where $3.2 million becomes 12 people's salary and then very difficult to create practical art with. There are artists here, I saw those hands go up, and there are people who want to create something that impacts the community the way that only art can. And that can be done with $2,000, $5,000, $10,000. And I think that's very, very important. Of course, I believe there should be some big ticket areas, but also how can we ensure that perhaps organizations that didn't even exist before this grant became available have room at the table to ensure the next generation of artists might come about because of this.
Arts are very important and very important for our young people. We don't have young people out here running around trying to do anything. I mean, they're just, we've got to develop some projects in my mind of how we can engage the younger people to be a part. I'm a member of a number of organizations, and we always talk about how can we get younger people involved in all aspects of our community.
Artists don't always need to be the ones to lead the charge. An artist could go to an educational institution or a social service organization or an arts organization and say, I'm here, I'm amazing, put me to work, pay me, and I will show you how to share your message like no one else can. Do you see what I mean? So it can work both ways.
Our entire culture doesn't value artists as it did, and frankly, it's the arts have changed.
Arts are valued not just what we're looking at and what they say to us, but for that artist to be able to be proud of what they did economically. They want to support their families.
More people are employed in California by arts and design than there are by lawyers and accountants. And I want kids to know that art is a good job. They don't need a backup. Hello, we have artists here, and they need to mentor young people so they can follow their dreams. Period.
Each county arts council will be responsible for putting together a peer review panel for their own communities. Nevada County Arts Council, as the administering organization, will invigilate each panel just to ensure that the program goals are being met. We're often asked to apply for grants, and we have to come up with something new and fresh and sexy and twinkly every time, and it's exhausting. And you think, but we already have this amazing community commitment around this other idea. Why don't we just make this better? So this is a question that we have to take back to California Arts Council. I'm hoping it's going to be the latter, but we're totally on your side.
The WPA changed America because it sealed our vision of who we are. And I say that because I want to keep pushing the idea that we want to be strategic about this and do something really quite grand, quite culture changing.
But it's the scale, I think, that we want to work on. Like, how can we insist upon change that is going to have a positive effect on our communities? What is your definition of health? Like, we challenge you to consider, what's your definition of health? What is this map not showing us that you know full well has meaning in your communities? Get to work and mobilize around that. Visual artists love to work with writers. They like to work with filmmakers. Everything is intrinsically bound. So whether you're an artist or an administrator or a school principal, think about the ways in which you haven't quite been able to grapple with something, and then invite artists across different disciplines to come and talk to you about that. And together you might be able to sort of put the puzzle together.
Yes, right now, any kind of field trip is usually next because we don't have enough bus drivers, period. So if we do it, it has to be in a weekend. And my own orchestra, if we want to take a trip, we're fundraising for it, big time.
If you were to be in touch with David, he can walk you through all the grants that are specifically for education. There's one called Exposure, which funds field trips. There's one called Artists in Schools, which pays for artists to go into schools and teach curriculum-bound arts education during school hours. And there are other ones that teach arts integration as professional development for teachers. There's a fabulous website called Create California, Create CA, that gives you all the arts funding information and what's on the ballot for more down the track that you can go to. So this particular grant is very exciting. It may not make all dreams come true, but there's a ton of stuff going into education right now, and I really encourage you to sort of learn up about it, and David would know. And we'll be looking at listening at what we've heard and what we've seen in all the communities, and we'll be putting together some programs, some grant guidelines, which we will announce in February. When we announce them, you're not on your own. We're going to be giving you webinars and trainings and Each county arts council will be providing professional development and technical support, and we'll make it as easy as possible, because we know, like you, it's such hell writing grant applications, especially when you survive on them. So we'll try and make it as easy as possible. But the thing that you need to be doing now is talking to each other. So for all of those who represent institutions, start thinking about the artists that you know and trust, and start reaching out to them and having conversations. And then for the artists in the room, start talking to each other, reaching out to other artists, whether in your discipline or not, and start thinking about who you would want to partner and what sort of social service type agency you're interested in working with. As an artist, you don't need to apply with another agency. You can just apply for yourself if you have a great idea and you want to do a residency that's meaningful for you. Go for it.